How many of you have attended one of your high school class reunions? Okay, I have. I'm a graduate of Bishop Gorman High School, class of 1962. And we decided, because we were from Las Vegas, we were not going to have our reunions on the typical 5 and 10 years, but instead on 7-Eleven. You know, Las Vegas, dice tables, 7-Eleven, it was perfect. Now, on our 7th year reunion, we were all bragging about how wonderful we were. We were highly educated, we had college degrees, we married well, we had a wonderful house, we were in good health, everything was perfect. We really wanted to impress everybody and maybe make them jealous of our great successes. Then we had our 50th reunion in 2012. That conversation was a little bit different. What medications are you on? How many surgeries have you had? Is he still alive? Yeah, things change, don't they? Some of our perspectives. Well, I think it was our 25th anniversary. We had rented a ballroom at one of our local casinos here. And I was there with classmates, class of 62. And we were having cocktails and appetizers. And this gentleman walks in. I mean, literally tall, dark, handsome, amazing, military uniform, United States Air Force, all kinds of medals and ribbons and badges. And we didn't know who he was. He must be the husband of one of our classmates. But he came in alone. So we're trying to figure out, I was the group, my friends, who he was. And we said, is he, you know, is he his? Could be. I saw his name on the list that he was attending tonight, but I don't think that's him. When he was in high school, he was pretty heavy, pretty obese. He didn't play any sports. I don't think he was that smart. And I said, yeah, I remember. I tutored him in Latin. He didn't do very well at all. So we're trying to figure out, who is this guy? So they elected me to go find out. So I go and say, hi, I'm Bill Kennedy, and who are you? And he gave us his name. Sure enough, he was that guy from high school that we had been talking about. Way overweight then, not athletic at all, not very smart. And here he was, this decorated military officer. And he was a dashing figure. We were just all amazed. We hadn't recognized him. But a change had happened. That was the same thing that Jesus experienced in Nazareth when he went back to his hometown. He was back there for a homecoming, expecting, I'm sure, you know, the red carpet to be laid out and people happy to see him. But just the opposite. He didn't have a homecoming at all. It wasn't a reunion. It was a rejection. Not that he looked any different, because he had been there 30 years of his life, so this was just a couple years later. But they'd heard about his wisdom, his parables, his miracles. Maybe they were jealous. Anyway, they just didn't like what they saw. Or maybe they were even challenged by what they heard he would say to them, maybe had already said to them. Things like, love your enemy, pray for your persecutors, pay taxes to Rome, turn the other cheek, walk the extra mile, give to those who ask. They weren't ready for that challenge, so they said, let's just reject him. In fact, in Luke's gospel, it says they took Jesus from Nazareth to the brow of the hill at which Nazareth was built, and they were going to throw him over the hill, kill him. But he escaped. Amazing. This wonderful man rejected by his own people. Same thing we heard in the first reading. Ezekiel was asked to be a prophet by God, and God said, it won't be easy. People are going to reject you. Most of the Jewish prophets were not popular. We think of prophets oftentimes as those who tell the future. That was just a small part of their prophecy. They really commented on the present, what's going on today, kind of like editorials. And they often criticized. You're not obeying the Ten Commandments. You're in a wrong relationship. You're not following kosher food laws. So no one likes to be criticized, so they rejected Ezekiel, and many people rejected Jesus as well. I think there's some powerful challenges for us from these two readings, from Ezekiel and from Mark's Gospel. Has someone recently, or any time in your past, tried to give you constructive criticism? How did you react? Most of us don't like that. I don't. And yet, hopefully they're doing that out of love. They're trying to be there for you. Maybe they're saying, other people are seeing this and no one has the guts to talk to you about it. Do we need to go back to those persons and say, okay, I agree. I goofed up. I did wrong. I hurt somebody. I didn't do what I promised I would do. Can you help me out? I have an addiction, whatever it is. Sometimes we need to listen to people that challenge us like Ezekiel and Jesus did, to listen to them. Because hopefully these persons are there for our good. They want to take care of us. I know there's a few people on my staff, a few good friends, some relatives, a couple of priests, who will do that for me. They'll tell me when I'm doing the wrong thing, when I haven't done things well, when I've goofed. And at first I kind of react. But usually when I think about it, they're right. I can go back to them and say, okay, what should I do? How can I repair the damage I've done? That's important that we do that. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you need to be the one that challenges someone. Because you love someone so much, you care about them. Take them by yourselves. Jesus said, just the two of you. Don't make it public. And just say, I really care about you, but I think this part of your life is really going in the wrong direction. Can we work together to change this? Now, that's risky. Then we tell you, mind your own business, get out of my face, but give it a try. So those are the challenges, I think, that Ezekiel and Jesus showed us today. Sometimes we have to hear those hard conversations. We have to give those conversations to others. Another challenge from these readings today is first impressions are not always the best impressions. Sometimes our first impression has another name for it. It's called prejudice. Prejudice means we prejudge someone, usually by some external factor. The color of their skin, the accent of their voice, their sexual orientation, their gender, their weight, their height, their clothes, their cars, their house, whatever. Judging them for these externals when we really need to get to know them better as a person. I remember one time when I was at Christ the King and we had homeless families staying there. And this one gentleman was there with 3 of his kids, and he was dressed well. He had a car, he had a job, he was pulling a graveyard shift at one of the hotels. And so I thought, is he cheating us? Is he getting free rent? Nicely dressed, car, job, what's going on here? So I went up and asked him, what is this all about? He said, well, I was married. Both of us worked. My wife left me with the 3 kids. 50% of her income went out the window. I couldn't afford the rent anymore. I didn't want to take my children and have them live in a tent or one of the flood channels. I heard about family promise. I'll be able to rent an apartment maybe 6 weeks from now. Be patient with me, Father. I thought, wow. I judged him as someone cheating the system, and yet he was a decent man, an amazing father. And in 6 weeks he did rent a house and get back to somewhat of a normal lifestyle. Be careful how we judge people when we first meet them or see them. Prejudice, bigotry, bias, discrimination should have no part of our language, no part of our jokes, no part of our conversations. They don't belong to people who claim themselves to be followers of Jesus Christ. How important that is. So some tough challenges today in these readings. Ezekiel and Jesus faced opposition, rejection. That didn't stop them from doing their work. Ezekiel continued to prophesy against odds, and so did Jesus. So sometimes we may need to hear and listen to people and follow what they're telling us, even if at first it hurts us a little bit. If they really love us, want us to do better, we better listen. That challenge is important. Or perhaps we need to challenge them. Give them constructive criticism. Because I care about you, I need to tell you this. No one else would tell it to you. And let's watch out for prejudice in our language and our conversations. If we try to see the Christ in everyone, you see, that's what happened to the people of Nazareth. It's not they didn't recognize Jesus as the person. They only saw Jesus of Nazareth. They didn't see the Son of God. They didn't see the Messiah. They didn't see the Christ. They had to go a little bit deeper, but they refused to do so. Can we see the good, the Christ, the godliness in every single person we meet? If we do, our lives and their lives will be for the better.